there wouldn't be so many stories about zombies and other weird creatures if they didn't really exist. R.L. Stine's Zombie Town is a Hulu original and is the latest adaptation of the work of author R.L. Stine, who's penned numerous, and I mean multitudes of horror stories aimed either at children. With the Goosebumps books, they're so popular to this very day. We've gotten a couple different series adaptations, including one that is currently on Hulu that I need to check out at some point. But the Goosebumps books, sure, they were aimed at kids, but man, they certainly could scare even young adults. Yeah, they're a little bit cheesy and a little bit goofy, I guess, if you really try to dissect any of the words, but R.L. Stine had such a way with words that he was able to make so many of those books and a couple different series. He must be doing something right. And Save Cheese and Die, A Haunted Camera, Don't Take My Picture, no! Supernatural, mutated, monstrous, mayhem-filled entities, and so many other great moments. The covers, I could even enjoy those books to this very day. They're collector's items. I kind of wish I had kept the books that my sister had, but nevertheless, I enjoyed the other side over here. The Fear Street books that were aimed more at young adults and were adapted to three Netflix original movies based around the Cheerleader Saga. And anybody that knows anything about the Fear Street books, the Cheerleader Saga, boy, those were certainly books that were really goddamn, interesting at first and then kind of got a little bit messy. But yeah, when they did that overarching story, it was done with all the subtlety of 5 elephants on stilts. That would have been a hell of a goddamn image in either of those movies or in this movie. But no elephants on stilts, no zombies on stilts. More in the pity, missed opportunity there. Zombie Town. Yes, the latest adaptation of R.L. Stine's work. And this was written and directed by Peter Leponidis, who, that sounds like a tea you would find in Europe. So he did the nut job, and then there were 3 other writers. One of them wrote Driver San Francisco. One wrote No Strings Attached. Another one wrote the nut job, as well as ABCs of Death 2.5. That's about as far away you can get from an animated or CGI, kids-based movie. And, of course, based around the work of R.L. Stine, who obviously had a hand producing this, and he was consulted on this. So you could tell this probably was a labor of his love. And this centers around 2 particular characters, Mike and Amy. Mike is played by Marlon Guzzotti, and Amy is played by Maddie Monroe. They're 2 friends. One likes the other more than the other might. Maybe. You'll see. You'll have to wait till the end of the movie or the spoiler section to find that out. Mike doesn't really care for horror movies, but works at a theater that is going to be showing the latest Len Carver horror movie, who hasn't directed a movie in 30 years. Len Carver, by the way, played by Dan Aykroyd, who's the biggest name actor of this whole cast. And then you have Chevy Chase in a cameo role. I wonder if he was a jerk to people like he's been a jerk to others on other sets. Nevertheless, Chevy Chase and Dan Aykroyd, the 2 biggest actors here. And then you have Henry Cazzarni, who plays Landro. He's a theater owner. And then you have Brenna Coates, who plays a teacher. I gotta say, Brenna is fucking lovely. Good God, beautiful eyes. Good grief. Beautiful, piercing blue eyes. So the plot of this movie, such as it is, involves Mike and Amy, who have a special screening of this new Len Carver movie that unwittingly to them and shockingly to them ends up turning everybody into zombies. And hence the title Zombie Town, and they must solve this mystery before the oral history Zombie Town tales. Woohoo! So yeah, that's your basic plot right there. And what we get basically is, it's not Fear Street, obviously. This is more Goosebumps type. And there's not really a whole lot of material for a full-length feature. I'm just going to say that. This reminded me more of the Spirit Halloween movie, except this is not nearly as egregious. I mean, I can digest this one better than I can digest that. And that had Rachel Lee Cook in it. When a movie can make me not want to see any more of, and poor Rachel Lee Cook is barely on that goddamn screen. She deserves so much better than that. Christopher Lloyd was in it for all of a few goddamn minutes. Spirit Halloween, by the way, I did a review of that if you want to check that out. But this movie did kind of remind me of that, kind of following some of the same beats in this sense. The horror isn't really horrifying, and the comedy doesn't really hit. I recognize I am out of the age demographic for this particular movie, but I've enjoyed young adult, even kids-based movies in the past This is just kind of written in a really dumb way. I mean, and the acting isn't the worst, but you could tell Dan Aykroyd is slumming it in this. Chevy Chase seems totally goddamn checked out. And honestly, the characters of Amy and Mike aren't exactly fully fleshed out, but sadly, they are the most fleshed out characters in this whole thing. You can see where everything's going as far as the plot. There really isn't anything scary about it. Everybody does really, really stupid things. And again, there's enough material for 45 to 50 minutes, and had they maybe had this and another story, Human Centipede, together, they might have had a better chance of succeeding here. This might have been better as a two-part, in the series, maybe making them eat. I don't know. It just seemed like it was stretched out, but it also seemed like it was rushing some stuff. And yeah, the more it tried to explain itself, the more you just laughed at it. I mean, the thin plot as it is just kind of really made me laugh. I'm like, okay, this and really what? And also the character motivations don't really make sense. One character seems like he wants to do something, but doesn't want to do that because it might affect this. And it's obvious there's going to be a bit of a teen romance here. It doesn't really work. It doesn't really work at all. Of course, it does remind you it's only a movie. It's only a movie. It's only a movie. A narrator reminds us of that. And from there, yeah, we get some really bad comedy, some pretty bad acting. And not even that the actors themselves are bad, but it seems like they did one take and then they just went with that one. Should we do another take? Nope, keep rolling. The CGI is especially shit. And I know it's aimed at kids, but it's not really all that good. This is a complete misfire that starts out okay and just dissolves into complete goddamn bullshit. I am going to get into spoilers just so you know, but it is on Hulu if you want to check it out. So give it a shot. Maybe you'll end up enjoying it. Maybe your kids will end up enjoying it. I cannot say I've read the book Zombie Town, but if it's anything like this, I don't know if I'm necessarily going to give it a shot. But R.L. Stine has done some great work in the past, and I'm so happy his stuff is still getting adapted. Spoilers! So yeah, there you go. So Len Carver has disappeared for 30 years, decides to release this new film, and it turns out that and here's the thing that gets really, really confusing. How Amy and Mike are even friends, because Mike works at a theater, doesn't like horror movies. It turns out he was scared by a horror movie when he was younger, and now he has a problem going to the bathroom and anything other than his own home. No, seriously, that is an actual explanation. It comes up a little bit later. They named the town Carverville after Len Carver, and the comedy just is not good. The makeup effects are really kind of goddamn shit. I know this had a low budget, but Jesus fucking Christ. God, Brenna Coates is hot. My God, she is hot. Need to see more of her work. So there are three goofs that call themselves the Carve that are big Len Carver super fans. The zombie trailers they show here are kind of goofy, and I would have rather seen those movies adapted. And yeah, the movie's not taking itself so seriously, at least at first, but then it tries to take itself a little too seriously. Nobody's really in any danger. Yeah, it's aimed at kids, but it is what it is. This would be fun if it was in the hands of somebody that wanted to lean more into the goofiness, and also if it was part of a series instead. I don't understand why the thing was in a film reel case, but then it turns out actually there's a reason for that, and why there's the Eye of Ra on this film case. And we see a little bit of a film, one of his films called Night at the Mausoleum, easy for me to say, with Chevy Chase and all this weird, crazy stuff going on. And we have Miss Bonard, who's in Brenna Coates. She loves romance movies. She doesn't really care for Mike at first, as far as a student, thinks he's a screw up, but then it turns out they're the only two that don't like horror movies. And also this guy Richard Landreau, who Henry and Dan Aykroyd's characters, their best friends. He's like, Dan Aykroyd's being motivated to play this movie, yet he doesn't really want to. He ends up having a bit of a stroke or issue or medical issue, saying don't play the movie. Well, then Mike and Amy play the movie. Zombies pop up, and yeah, there's this stuff about bullying before and getting back at your bullies, and you can't really show a lot of violence, but they sort of thump the zombies on the head, It's like if Dead Rising was G-rated. There's a halfway decent attempt to try to build this friendship romance, but it really just totally misfires. Dan Aykroyd basically got into filmmaking in 1974 with, and I quote, film reels, from Thomas Edison. They were discovered by Thomas Edison, and he decided to use their power to make films, to turn people into zombies, because movie consumers are just going to be really goddamn stupid. No, really, that seems to be the general deal. And there's a halfway decent point where they, after they use the Eye of Ra thing to shield them from the film reel ghost magic stuff, whatever, zombifying dust, they also realize that Dan Aykroyd's character is wearing one of those, one of the Eyes of Ra, and I guess that's why he was protected, because he was wearing a necklace. And there's a part where Amy goes to a party. Mike decides to go home. You go that way, I'll go home, because he doesn't want to be part of this. He wants to get out of the town. Then he sees his mom zombified. And also, the zombies don't eat your brains. They suck the souls out of you. That's how they do. That's how they get by the eating thing. And then Mike comes back. He basically helps save Amy, who easily escapes after Carver just leaves her and decides to go to this mausoleum where all his films are for some reason. And he's got to destroy them. And he's hearing from Chevy Chase's character, you got to destroy him, because anybody that was that was put on these films was instantly trapped in the film. No, really. That's what I don't fucking get why they decided to heap this stuff on. It was stupid. He ends up eventually setting his films on fire. Amy and Mike are in the projector room. Mike confesses that he loves Amy. I've been waiting for you to say that. They kiss after she sets the film on fire, and then it goes higher to the sun, and then everything gets reset, but Mike and Amy are together. And then we get a mid-credits scene with Dan Aykroyd and Chevy Chase playing movie executives and adding more zombies, and R.L. Stein's like, sure, add more zombies. They doing a director's cut or something? And then Dan praises the crew and then walks off. And, it seemed like everybody had a fun time making this. And again, I know that it's not aimed necessarily at people in my age demographic, but as somebody that's a fan of R.L. Stein's work, this was a total misfire. It wasn't tongue-in-cheek enough. It wasn't comedic enough. It wasn't horrifying enough. It was just bland. It was just boring. And I have to give it an F. Now, it's not like a 1 out of 10 F, but anything below a 6 out of 10 is considered an F. So that's basically what I'm going to end up giving it. Zombie Town gets an F. So let me know your thoughts in the comments. Like, share, subscribe, Twitter handle in the description. I'm John Riplin. I'll see you soon.